Welcome to you all. And of course, before we start, wishing you the best for the coming year. Hopefully, worldwide, it will be much better, in my opinion. Um, Welcome, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, it will be, what is it, our 78th webinar, if I'm right. Yeah, it would have been the webinar before Christmas with Dimitri Katzen. Unfortunately, due to technical issues, we weren't able to get the thing started on time. And once we got things working, it was actually too late. So that is, as you can see on a later slide for the agenda for the next sessions, it has been rescheduled to the 11th of December. But today, as our guest, we have Bert Verbeek. I'm very happy that Bert stepped in to present a topic in his realm of favorite topics, Microsoft Fabric. So welcome, Bert. I'll leave you to introduce your part yourself later on. How to export large data from Business Central to Microsoft Fabric. That's the topic of today. As always, a number of slides on some household keeping things. This will be the last time I'm projecting this slide. The survey I did send out. Anybody present or replaying this recording, be welcome to use the QR code and fill in the survey. Based upon the feedback that I got, I will be calling upon a number of people that have, let's say, more or less volunteered to help continue Areopa webinars. It's something that I've been doing for 5 years, and I decided that after this 5 years, I'm going to step back a little bit and wanting to get this continued by all of the people responding. I'm hoping that people are stepping in so we can get this a joint continuation, or whatever I want to call it. As always, as you know, your microphone is muted. Use the go to webinar question window, and I, Luc van Vugt, as mostly am the moderator of today, and agreed with Bert that I will post the questions at the point when they make sense to post them. So we're not going to wait till the end. So feel free to step in and be part of the session of today. I will do my best to get the recording on YouTube at, well, after this session, of course, but somewhere this evening, maybe tomorrow, often I succeed to get that done. Most work for me is to set up an index so that you can easily jump through the recording based upon the agenda of today's session. And if you want to stay in the know of any next sessions coming up, register yourself or subscribe yourself to our newsletter. This is what is ahead. Next week, the rescheduled session from December 11th by Dimitri Katzen. Then a week later, of course, it's a bi-weekly rhythm, but this 15th of January had been pushed in between. On the 22nd, Andrzej Zwierzowski will do his presentation. Then 2 weeks later, the 5th of February, Stefano Di Miliano will be our guest. 2 weeks later, David Singleton will step in. This one and the next one on March 4th by Kamil Sarcik has not been sent out yet. And maybe David's is already on the website, but there was no title. I got the title yesterday, and I need to get an abstract from David still. And from Kamil the same. And then once I have those two, I will be sending out a new newsletter. Kamil Sarcik's topic will be around the solid principles, a presentation he did over half a year ago at the Days of Knowledge in Denmark on the solid design principles. And I think this is a valid one. It was a good presentation, and it's becoming more valid in our world too. So I asked him, would you like to, let's say, replay this to the well-being of us all, you could say. So that's what is ahead, and as always, working on next topics and always trying to motivate anybody of you to step in with a suggestion on a topic, and even more if you would like to be a speaker. But let me see what comes out of this one. So Before I'm going to hand over to you, Bert, thanks to our sponsor for FNAF, enabling that we can do this every 2 weeks, you could say. And yeah, then I'm going to make you presenter, Bert. Then you should be able to share your screen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your screen is a view.
Okay, perfect.
And I do hear your voice, so I guess the others also do.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Luc, for the introduction, and also everybody, also the best wishes for 2024. And indeed, what Luc said, make it a good year for yourself and all your family. And this webinar is going to what the title says, how to export large data from BIS Central to Microsoft Fabric. And first, let me introduce myself. I'm Bert Verbeek, working currently around 16 years in NEV BC world, based on several roles. Currently, I'm a technical solution architect at 4PS. Also a Microsoft MVP, and you can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn if you have any recommendations or asking anything. You can reach me out there. So what are we going to handle this webinar? First of all, I want to explain what the problem is, what the problem is, what you want to solve. Then, what is a Microsoft Fabric? It's quite a new product, so maybe it's not that familiar. So I want to beat in short what Microsoft Fabric is. What is BC to AWS? How we maybe fix the problem. I thought a year ago I also presented it, the tool BC to AWS, but we have expanded it. Then we're going to talk about the export to Microsoft Fabric, but also when the data is in there, how we can move the data inside Microsoft Fabric. Then the last one, trigger a notebook, and a real life case from a partner, and that partner is not 4PS. So what is the problem that we want to fix? And when I talk to customers or other partners that are based in the Microsoft cloud environment and have a data warehouse, it's quite hard to extract a lot of data from BIS Central to their data warehouse or an external database and stuff like that. There are APIs. That's the only recommended way to extract data from BIS Central to another system, but they have some limitations on that. For example, when you have a database that is bigger than 80 gigabytes, yeah, it will be get and struggle with it. It takes quite a lot of time to export the data. Also, when you to handle the deleted data, that's quite in common with APIs. You can subscribe it, but you can only subscribe to 200 entities, and that kind of problem. So that is the main problem that we want to solve. Exporting the data, large data, to a data warehouse for BI or other stuff purposes. So then, what is Microsoft Fabric? Microsoft Fabric is an BI part of the Microsoft ecosystem. And what you see currently right now is that a lot of customers has a BI database and data warehouse in that case. But around that, what you see is that a lot of different apps are in their solution, and all those apps must be export the data to the data warehouse. But also each app has its own vendor, so you have to take quite a lot of vendors, and so in that case, when a vendor is upgrading an app, the integration will maybe fail. You have to test it, and so it is quite complex and fragile. So that is quite now the circumstances that Microsoft see. So what a customer also says, and especially the chief data officers, he said, okay, hey, I'm not a chief data officer, but I'm a chief integration officer, because I have to handle a lot of integrations to export what I said from the app to my data warehouse. And I don't want that. I want to be just a chief data officer. So in that case, Microsoft introduced Microsoft Fabric. A lot of components maybe you already recognize, but it is in this case a little bit low code, no code solution for an integration in the data warehouse. So what is, for example, a scenario? In this case, I've got a BizCentral database and I've got an HR database. In that case, it is Microsoft Viva. All that data I can upload in my OneLake storage. And OneLake storage, that's what Microsoft thought about the marketing about a nice term, but underneath that OneLake, there is the Azure Data Lake as a backbone on it. So in that OneLake, you've got two databases. For example, a finance database where your BizCentral database in this there, and your HR database is there. So in that case, you want also to combine some figures from your finance and your HR. So that will become in another database your BizCentral, your business KPIs. So in that case, and that's also what the name OneLake is there, you can move your data from your finance and HR and combine it in another database inside the same OneLake storage. So you don't have to copy your finance database into another data warehouse or Azure Data Lake or a database. So you have got multiple copies. Now it is just in one storage in this case. And in that case, also in this case, with some Power BI reporting, you want to read your business KPIs and report it to your end users. But of course, you can do a lot of more resources coupled to your OneLake storage, and instead you can do it also with the service compute with a Spark script. You can combine it with the KQL language, T-SQL language, all those languages. You can combine your data, and then with the other products, with a data factory, data activator, or data science, you can predict, feel what is changed and stuff like that, with a simple integration with your data in your OneLake storage. So that is a short overview how Microsoft sees how you can use Microsoft Fabric in a quite easy way with not that much integrations. So keep it simple in that case. And then how we are going to extract your data from BizCentral to Microsoft Fabric. And in that case is we are going to use the BC to ADLS extension. The BC to ADLS extension is created approximately 2 years ago by Samuel Dutta and Henry Schulte. And it was just an experiment to move your data from BizCentral to an Azure Data Lake. And that's why also the name BizCentral to Azure Data Lake storage. It is an open source app, and what I say, it was just an experiment, but there is a quite huge uptake from the community. And currently, a couple of months ago, there's also an option added to move your data from BizCentral to Microsoft Fabric. So how is that going to work in a schema? There is you've got an BizCentral database. There is installed the Azure Data Lake extension, and then you can push the incremental updates on your tables to, in this case, your OneLake storage, and that is based on in a lakehouse. Maybe good to know is that in your Microsoft Fabric, you have got two types. You've got a lakehouse and a warehouse. And in your lakehouse, there's your unstructured data in there. And in the case of your warehouse, there's your structured data. And that's your warehouse more likely like a database. And that has also got an SQL endpoint. So, but it pushes the data in deltas in a CSV format, and then with a small PySpark notebook script, it will just cleanse the data. It will delete the deleted once. It's also take care of the modified records and the data that's already in there, and then it pushes to a lakehouse table. In that case, where all your records are in there. So in that case, your lakehouse table will represent the same data as that is in your BizCentral database. And then, in this case, in the picture, you can easily get it from into your Power BI reporting, but also what I can imagine that you want to combine it with other data or calculate some flow fields in there. So how is that going to work in a demo? In this case, I'm starting here at my BizCentral database. This is I've got there installed my BC2 AWS, and when I open that, is that I can choose the storage type, Azure Data Lake or Microsoft Fabric. I can choose what is the workspace in there and in what kind of lakehouse I want to put it on. I have to put some client ID and secrets just to communicate it with Microsoft Fabric, and there's an app registration needed for, and that, and I can add all the tables in my structure. So that's just easily just add it, and then I can put all the tables in there, and also when I select the fields, and I've indeed already exported it, you can also select all the fields that are in the table. Only the flow fields and the other fields, the filter fields, aren't enabled. I can only enable the normal fields that consist data in there. And in the last one, I can choose also the translations in that case. And when I go to my enum translation, I can get also my enum translation and my options translations inside my data warehouse. So I've got my translation or of my options in that case. And when and maybe that's also good to mention here, when I delete a record inside my BizCentral database, for example, a sales line record or any other thing, is when I do a delete, it has a subscribing to it and put the system ID in a separate table, and that will also be exported to my lakehouse, and then it will cleanse, but that will be later on. So for example, if I go and create a new customer and just fill in the a name, test Yopa webinar, and just leave it and going to export lakehouse and exported it, then I can see one is in progress, and when I do an F5, it is just finished. And of course, I can also schedule my export. So now my deltas is moved from my Bicentral to my Microsoft Fabric database. So when I go to my Microsoft Fabric database and I'm going to open my lakehouse, in this case, there is in my lakehouse tables and files. In this case, it is exported as files. And when I open my customer 18, I see here my CSV file with my record in there, test Areopa webinar. So in that case, my deltas are in Microsoft Fabric, and now I have to move it from my CSV file to, in this case, my customer table. Because in this case, when I open customer table, and sometimes it takes a while, I cannot see my the name from my customer in there. So in that case, I have run, for example, a small notebook script, and in this case, that's also there on my repository that I can show you later. In this case, it will do some settings when I run it. Where are my CSV files in there? What is my workspace and what is my lakehouse? And if I want to remove my delta files. So if everything is finished, it can be also removed the delta files because I don't need it anymore. And an option, drop table if mismatch. So in that case, it will read from, okay, how many columns are there in my CSV file and how many columns are there in my table, and if there's a mismatch, I can remove and drop the table. That case. So in that case, that is the case in this one. If I drop the table, it will execute this type of code, and in this case it will drop it. But in this case, I leave that in that case. The most important thing is this script, and I can run it, and I will explain it. In this case, it will read all my folder structure, and it reads also all the files inside my folder. It will load in a data frame. In this case, it will put the right columns in there and put it with the right columns inside a new data frame. Then it will read also the all data that is there in my Microsoft Fabric, and it will read in my in a new data frame old, and then in data frame new it will combine it together. Then it will remove all the old records, and what I said also is when I remove a record, or for example a sales line inside Microsoft Fabric, it will export the system ID with a system created as empty, and in this case it will handle that, and it will all the remove all the deleted items. And then it will also remove all the duplicates in there, because it's the same system ID, but the system modified add is newer. So in that case, I do in this descending, and then I will drop those duplicates. And in that case, I will move my data frame inside my table in there, and then I will remove all those files. Now in this case, I've run it already, and it's executed in there. So if I'm going to Bicentral and I have to give an F5 because there's some refresh issues with Microsoft Fabric, and if I open the customer 18, and there I can see right now the test Areopia webinar is there. And if I go to my customer table, the file is empty. So in that case, I can use my lakehouse table as a full representative of my Bicentral data. So if I go into my Power BI, and in Power BI, there is also right now a Microsoft Fabric connector on the mirror, and I can choose Microsoft Fabric, and it's in a lakehouse. And there I can choose my lakehouse, that's Bicentral. And if I connect, I can see directly on the right screen, I can see all my customers in there with all the files that I can, all the fields that I can select on there. So in that case, I can use my data from my lakehouse directly inside Power BI, and not what you mostly see with the API connection. It will fetch the data from Bicentral into a dataset of Power BI, and then I can process it. And getting those data inside a dataset, it will take also some quite of minutes if it's got a quite large database or a quite large table and records in there. But in this case, I can directly get all the tables and the data in there. So that's quite easy and powerful to use. Well, there are also some considerations. And in the first place, Microsoft Fabric is quite a new product. It is launched in May last year, and it's now generally available from I thought in the month November. So it is a quite new product. The notebooks are very fast. A notebook session will start in less than 5 seconds, and then it can execute all your data. And I have also done some comparison with Azure Data Lake and Microsoft Fabric, the notebook, and then you can see that Microsoft Fabric is quite fast. And what I said is also there is also a fast integration with Power BI, and it uses, in this case, the direct lake. So what I said, when you are doing the APIs or maybe having your data in an Azure Data Lake, all your data must fetch in a dataset, and then you can use it. In this case, there is a direct lake with my one lake, and I can fetch my data in there quite fast. And then, of course, it costs something. There is a quite good license guide from Radar-Sheet, and here you can see it hasn't gotten F2 with. That means you have got 2 capacity units, and how that's handled, I talk in a couple of minutes, and then you can get a lot of some Power BI vehicles and stuff like that. And it costs around $300 in this case per month.
Could you move your cursor once more over the link? Because of course it's nice, but then it's on the recording and then people can directly type this one. Thank you.
Yeah, indeed. And I will also put this presentation on my website so people can download it. Okay. But that's a good one. And then also a special thank to Arthur van der Voort, because he's helped a lot with the integration with the Microsoft Fabric. So also in this case, my thanks to him. And then when your data is in there, what we saw is that you can put it on your data inside Power BI, but maybe you want to move also your data from one lakehouse to another lakehouse. For example, you want to combine some data in there. And in this case, you want to calculate some flow fields in there. In that case, I've given two options. The first one is through a data flow, and underneath that there's Power Query, and the other one is Data Wrangler. And in the first one, if you look at the data flow / Power Query, what you can do with it, and then I go to my workspace, and I've got here a table, a data flow customer table, and when I open that one, you see directly the Power Query UI. And if you are very familiar with Microsoft Excel, you know probably Power Query. In this case, you can get your data in this case from a lakehouse, and I've already prepared it. So, but what you can see here is I can get all my tables in there. So in this case, I've got my customer table and my detailed customer ledger entries tables, and I want to calculate my amounts in that case. So in this case, if I go to Biz Central and I go to my customer, you can see here my balance, and I want to calculate it because what I said earlier, the BC2A list doesn't export any flow fields. So what you can do with Power Query, in this case, for a customer, I have removed some columns. So I've got not all columns in there. And in my detailed customer ledger entry, I've grouped some details. So I've done a sum, and if I open it, you can see it. It's grouped by my customer number, my global dimension 1 and 2, and then I can say, okay, what's my new column name, and I want to do a sum operation, and on which column I want to do it. And that's also with my next one, the amount, and that's based on the sum operation of amount 7. And then if I've done that, I want to combine it, because maybe I also want to have some name and stuff like that. Then I want to put it in my in a new table and combine my number, my name, with also and my amount LCY and then my amount. So in that case, what I can do is I can merge my customer 18 table with my detailed customer. In that case, I can do an inner join, but I can also do anything else, or other kind of joins. And in this case, I can get my results, and if I've got my results, I can put that in also my other lakehouse. In this case, I've got my silver lakehouse. So, and I can give it a special name. So in that case, in this case, I can replace it, and I want to cancel it. So in that case, a user doesn't have to calculate all those flow fields inside Power BI, but can grab it quickly from, in this case, my lakehouse. So in this case, if I go into, and sorry, I have to close that one and a little bit. And if I go to my silver lakehouse, then you can see here also in my silver lakehouse, there's a customer from my Power Query, and then I can grab that one, this table with the some fields from the amount LCY and amount into my Power BI or any other application. But if you want to run this in a scheduled mode, it can take quite a lot of time, because Power Query in this case is not that fast. But you can also do it in a notebook. And in a notebook, you can write it with code. So in this case, if I open my data wrangler, you can have what I said, also the same results, do it by code, but then maybe you can say, okay, but I cannot write that Python script quite well. And therefore, Microsoft Fabric introduced the data wrangler. You can transform it inside a nice UI. The only fact that you need to write is to join the customer table and the customer ledger entries. So if I run this script first, so in this case, what the script says is it loads the customer 18 table inside the data frame, and in this case also the detailed customer ledger entries also read it in data frame, and then I'm going to convert it to a Panda data frame. In this case, I don't use a Spark data frame, but a Panda data frame, and that's because a Panda data frame can do a lot of more joins. In this case, it's an inner join, so that's much easier with a Panda data frame. So when this is loaded, and I go right now to my data wrangler, it's finding all my data frames, and I have to choose my merge data frame because that's this one. And if I go to this and select it, then you can see it is an UI based. So in this case, I can do a lot of steps from a UI, and then it will create a code for me in a Python script. So in this case, I want to aggregate it and group by it. So I can choose this operation, group by and aggregate. I want to group it by name and number. So in this case, I want to select name and number, and then I want to aggregate it the same columns as the amount. So I can type it in, amount 7. I want to do a sum in this case, but also the amount LCY, and I can choose also here amount LCY. I can type it in or choose the fields. In this case also I want to sum it, and you can see directly here what it's going to be. So in this case, the green fields are in my data frame, and all the red fields are removed. And here you can see also the script for that one. So if I do it apply, then it will calculate it again, and I can now say, okay, add this code to my notebook. And so in this case, you can see here what we have done through the UI. So it will done a group by and also doing a sum on the fields. So if I'm going to execute it, it will be also a nice print. But now what I also need to do is to move this data frame to my lakehouse, in this case in the table customer. So what I need to do is move it from Panda data frame to Spark data frame again, and then I'm going to override it and save it into my table. So in this case, if we want to execute it, and that is, if I run this total script, it's quite fast. It's only a couple of seconds in there, and now it will create the customer table. And when I'm going to my Silver database, because now it is also ready, you can see already the tables in there. So you can see also the table in there, and now can I fetch my values inside my Power BI and stuff like that. So in this way, I have two options to move my data inside Microsoft Fabric, and my recommendation is Power Query has indeed a better UI, but is slower. But the notebook with Data Wrangler, it's very easy to use and much faster in that case. And then, indeed, and previously I forgot to mention that one, is when you are doing in a live database, you want to export it every 15-30 minutes from BIS Central to my Fabric Lakehouse. That you can schedule very easily inside BIS Central with the job queue, but then you have to also schedule the notebook. So when the BIS Central data is done, when the schedule is done in BIS Central, then you have to trigger, also schedule the notebook. So you need to know when your notebook, your BIS Central extraction is done. But last month, there is also, right now, you can trigger the notebook by an API call. And in this case, when I go into Postman, there is an API for it that I can run my notebook. I have to fill in my GUID of my workspace, and then the GUID of my notebook. And when I go into my notebook inside Microsoft Fabric, this is my notebook, you can see here, this is my GUID, and this is my notebook GUID. So in that case, you can easily export that. So when I tested it, and first I need to get a token for it, and okay, say open it and use my token, and my body is just with an execution data is empty. And when I posted it, I got a 202 accepted. And when I'm going to Microsoft Fabric, and my this is my notebook, the central copy, and then I have to run and see all runs. Then you can see here now that it is just triggered from inside my API call. So in that case, when BIS Central is finished with the exporting, then I can directly trigger my notebook. And that's also what I can do. Sorry, I have to go to my presenter mode again. That's also what you can do with a business event. There is a business event created last week. There's an export is finished, and when that is done, you can call that API in that case. And then the last part, the real life case, what I said. And This is a real-life case, not from an VBS customer, but another partner is it. And that has a customer that was moving from on-prem to SaaS approximately a year ago. And in the on-prem world, they were using Jet reports, Excel, and direct access to SQL. And especially that direct access to SQL, that is not supported in also the on-prem situations. That customer had a web shop, and every day they got around 200 orders, and with 50 and 200 lines, sales order lines in there. And also there were a big amount of GL entries and item ledger entries. And here I've got a screenshot of their database. There you can see, for example, the GL item ledger entry, item ledger relations that are around 20 million records. And they need to refresh their data inside their data warehouse every 50 minutes. So what they've done is first they have taken the API approach. So in this case, the deleted items, deleted data in the sales order, there were a problem. They need to have a subscription on that one. Also, they were limited by the API limits, and have in last quarter, and I thought I saw this week that will be the first quarter of 2024. The limits will increase in that one, but still they have got some limits. And with the API, they only had the refresh rate was only two hours. They've also taken the approach with the BC2ALS extension and exporting to Azure Data Lake, but then with a refresh rate with every 2 hours or 30 minutes. The Synapse pipelines were very expensive, and what you see there is starting of the Spark pool was only half of the time, so it was quite a lot. And what I said, there are a lot of data in the transaction tables in that case. So what they have done with the export to Microsoft Fabric with BC2ALS, they have purchased a Microsoft Fabric F2. Currently, they exporting it every 50 minutes, and the export is finished in 5 minutes. And right now, they triggered the notebook every 50 minutes. But now, what I said before with the API, when it is the export in Business Central is finished, you can directly trigger that notebook from an API. And the most part, I think, is that the end users doesn't complain. And right now, they are on an F2, but must go to an F4. And in a couple of minutes, I will talk about that one, because they want to attach other sources inside their lakehouse and combine that one in a warehouse. So started with F2 and then now increasing it to an F4. And so what is an F2? And so what do you get from Microsoft with an Fabric F2 SKU? You get around 170,000 capacity units that are approximately seconds. How you can keep track of that, and you can install an app, and also here is the link with that. In that case, with this app that is from the Microsoft Fabric team, you can measure how many capacity units do you have used, how many does the notebook script run, or any other notebooks. That's easily to track with the app. And then what I said, okay, but they're doing a lot of trial and error, and they've put the acceptance and development workspace on the trial. And In that case, when you are purchasing a trial, you get 60 days of that trial, and currently it still remains 60 days, but you got an F64 capacity units. So in that case, it is powerful enough. And then my last slide, call to action, is currently the Microsoft repository is on archive. So that's because Sam Duta has got another job inside Microsoft Fabric, and I've talked to him because I saw a lot of traction with the BC to ADLS extension. And what I said, I've talked to him, and we have agreed together that we are going to put it as an open source project. In this case, it is on my my GitHub account. It is Bert Verbeek 4PS at BC to ADLS. And when I open it, you can see here all the codes from there. It has some builds in there. If I click on my Fabric, you can see here the Fabric notebook scripts in there, but also it has some, if I go back, some documentation on that of how I'm going to install and configure the connection with Microsoft Fabric. So in that case, it isn't fully open source. So yes, you can contribute to it. So I'm very pleased if you do that with new features. Of is there an issue, you can also put it on there, and we as a community can then grab it in this case. So that is that's all from now. So I'm not sure, Luc, if there are any questions.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions from Lakshmi. The process, the export that you demoed, regarding that one, she has a question: is it the same process to be followed in case of a first-time load? You showed a delta, adding a new customer. Is it exactly the same process when you're setting up things and get all your customers into the data lake?
Yeah, it's indeed the same process. It will record you also when you have exported it. So when you first time exported it from Bicentral to Fabric, it doesn't have any records inside your exporting time. So it will do a fully load, and then it will only export the deltas. If you do a change in your schema, so if you want to add a column or remove a column from a table, you have to reset your deltas so that it will export it everything again. And because in that case, it will also export all the records inside, for example, the customer table with the new column.
All right, Lakshmi has two other questions. Can we implement the PySpark scripts with minor changes in Azure Databricks instead of Microsoft Fabric?
I'm not that quite familiar with Azure Databricks, but yes, you can do that. I think because it's just general PySpark script only getting the data. In this case, from a file or a table will be maybe a little bit different, but you can use that, I think.
Okay. And a last question from Lakshmi: is the PySpark script available in the GitHub repo?
Yeah. I've shown that one.
Yep.
That if you go and look into the Fabric folder, there you can see the notebook scripts. And if there is anybody that says, okay, hey, maybe there are some optimizations on that one, yeah, feel free to contribute to it. I'm happy to do that. So no other questions?
I have myself one question, and thanks for answering the rest. You talked about Panda data framework versus Spark data framework. For me, totally new. Is there a small explanation on the two?
Yeah, that's maybe Yeah, well, what you can say is a data frame is just an for approximately a table inside memory. And the difference with Panda and Spark is more Spark is optimized for quite large of amounts of data, and Panda scripts is a little bit less. But what you see with a Panda data frame is with moving arranging data inside a data frame is a Panda data frame quite helpful in that case. But if you don't use that one, you use just only the Spark data frame. So in the first script, I only using the Spark data frame, so you don't have to move from one Spark data frame to another Panda data frame.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks everybody for being here, and especially you, Bert. There are no other questions. So thanks for this nice explanation. And well, on to the next one, I guess, one day. And everybody out here, thanks for being here, and enjoy the rest of your day, maybe evening or night. And hope to meet you next week when we have Dimitri Katram on the show talking about AI and co-pilot kind of things. So be welcome to join us next week. Thanks, Bert.
Yeah, thanks, Luc, for having me, and thanks all for listening.